Hello, my name is Laura Gualtieri, and today I will be translating the advice of Artemio Milla, Managing Partner at Altair Soluciones Reales, a top business consultancy based in Valencia, Spain. Before we start, we would like to say that we hope that your families are well at this difficult time, which is the most important thing. Times like this is when you as top-level managers of your companies need to keep calm, share absolutely everything with your team, be transparent, and start introducing attitudes of leadership that we will discuss today. You need to appear as though everything is under control and inspire confidence in your people. Make them believe that nothing is going to bring you down. We need to face this challenge bravely because together we will beat it. May I also add that this is not the apocalypse. Humanity has survived similar situations. One example is the flu pandemic of 1918, which killed 50 million people, but interestingly didn't interrupt the economy. At that time, we had fewer resources and capabilities, and of course, none of the technology that we have now, and yet we overcame it. This time won't be any different. This health crisis is going to teach us one lesson, and I hope we learn it. What matters in life is the health of our loved ones. Everything else is superfluous. Nonetheless, today I am going to attempt to advise you about the day after, as it were, with business management strategies specifically for times of crisis. Of course, if we don't prepare, plan, and organise adequately, there won't be a day after. So where should we start? This presentation is broken up into four main parts. The first part refers to the fundamental principles of management in times of crisis. This point is valid for any crisis situation. For example, in 2008, it could have been applied. The second point explains our proposal to help you form a global restructuring plan with a 9-month view. The schedule with our proposals is very tight because time is of the essence in a situation like this. The third point is a proposal of express micro-projects that you can implement in your companies within 3 months. The fourth and final point is a look at the 9 drivers to enhance cash flow, because that is what you need to be focusing on right now. You must consider that time flies, it is key, and you need to get the ball rolling as soon as possible. We propose 4 key points for managing the crisis. The first is that the crisis is already here. I suppose everyone has already realised this. But we're not talking about the health crisis so much as the financial crisis which we are immersed in and which is going to worsen significantly over the coming months. Hence, we have to accept the situation and face it. For this reason, the second point is that now is the time to plan and schedule every single action. Don't act with your heart, but with your head to make rational decisions. Every step of a well thought out plan takes time, so we need to have patience with the execution and remain resolute. We also need to remember that nothing is immediate and results won't happen overnight. They will come in the medium and long term. It is important that all the action you take now forms part of your crisis response plan, and we're going to develop this in 15 days. The crisis response plan has one clear objective, that you not be forced to close your business. Time flies, and it's essential now. Every day that you sit idle is a wasted day that can have negative consequences for your company. The crisis response plan must be started within 15 days, and the focus must be 100% on cash flow. Make sure cash flow is at the front of your mind because it's the variable on which all of your actions are going to be based. In a maximum of 2 months, you should have your company ready for full speed ahead. This is also the time for stakeholders and top-level managers to take a step forward and give 100%, no holding back, because that's what the company needs. If I may share a piece of advice, this is a war, and it is therefore time to organise a crisis committee among your top-level management and lead as if you were the Commander-in-Chief. The 9-month global restructuring plan also contains 4 fundamental aspects. Keep in mind that whilst the clock is ticking, you need to permanently and vigilantly survey the internal and external environments. Now more than ever, the environment is dynamic and utterly hostile. It's constantly changing and becoming more complex and difficult to understand, and we need to keep up with those changes. When you make a restructuring plan, think first and foremost about not complicating things. Make the plan concrete, clear, and precise. Put it in black and white, write it down. This restructuring plan must be made up of micro-projects, as previously mentioned. You need to decide which projects to implement based on the specific needs of your company. But it's important that each one is a puzzle piece that fits into the big picture seamlessly. To choose the micro-projects, use the effort-impact matrix. That is to say, start with those that have the biggest impact and require the least effort with regards to finance and time. Make things simple so that they're easy for your team to understand. Your team needs to be completely committed, and I would insist that to achieve success, you find projects that are easy to implement. All companies have room for improvement. No doubt, at times like this, we can find multiple micro projects. Please don't attempt to take on big projects that can be implemented quickly and that together make up the finished puzzle of your company. As I said before, keep the focus on cash flow. Remember that your global restructuring plan is going to affect the whole company. It's likely that the situation is impacting the entire company, from your supply chain to your employers to your customers and your staff. That's why we need global plans formed by micro projects. Just like in an army, each manager needs to be focused on completing their mission, working towards global objectives for the benefit of the team. The strength is in working together. As Benitez said once, the strength of the wolf resides in the pack. It's important that you work in a clean-cut way. Don't try to run before you can walk. Move steadily ahead with processes, plans, procedures, route maps, timelines, and managers tied to them. Don't leave anything to improvisation, but do be flexible in order to adapt to unforeseeable situations, because we're going to see them come up all the time. Work with as many possible scenarios that your company could face in the 9-month period, and always work with a worst-case scenario. In this way, you will be able to articulate all of the necessary actions should that situation arise. This is not negative thinking. On the contrary, if you visualize the worst-case scenario and you fight to face it, you will be doing the most and the best that you can for your company. So which micro projects to choose? Go ahead and establish managers, milestones, end dates, and expected results. This will allow you to make the projects tangible and to get the ball rolling. Put everything in a workflow diagram. Display your route map and make it very clear what needs to be done, and especially how it needs to be done. This is the hardest question to answer at times like these. Act sensibly and find the measures that have immediate impact on your EBITDA and your cash flow. Make sure that you are agile, flexible, and adequately apportioning at the financial and operational level. To implement the micro projects, equip yourself with tools. It's important that you have the right tools to help you implement the micro projects efficiently and effectively. We'll talk more about tools for financial planning, making proposals, information systems, control of the treasury, etc. in the following slides. Tools are important because without them we can only talk the talk and not walk the walk. You need more than willpower in a crisis. You need tools to implement everything. I would like to remind you once again that the recommendation for speed doesn't mean making hasty or uninformed decisions. Every action must have an explanation and a logical sequence. Logic and rationale are key. If you make hasty decisions, it's possible that you'll regret them later. Our proposal for micro projects is as follows. Make your sales and your commercial network dynamic. It's important to look for alternatives. Try exportation if you don't already export. Try online if you aren't there yet. At this moment in time, the markets are closed. There's a problem with supply, but there's also a problem with demand. We don't know when the factories are going to be allowed to manufacture again, but we also don't know when demand is going to return. So planning is key. Reduce your operating expenses at the operational level and in your supply chain. Adjust and optimize the cost structure of labor, productivity, routes, logistics, stock, and plan for reduced demand at a time of extreme uncertainty, such as this. Financial planning is very important. Look at least 6 months ahead at all your company's expenses and payments, and if you work in foreign currency, watch out for the risk of fluctuating exchange rates. Check your treasury every week, every day, and every minute, and work with a range of possible scenarios again. Work with an income decrease of 20%, of 50%, etc. It's important to know what will happen to the cash flow of the company in the face of various situations and to have the tools available to respond quickly and effectively and evaluate each possibility. Maximize your information systems. During the crisis in 2008, it became clear that many companies were lacking in this area, especially in the financial and commercial parts of the company. Therefore, they didn't know how to make decisions, and it's important for this reason to implement key performance indicators, KPIs, in relation to, for example, derivatives, refunds, wastage. Use reliable and up-to-date data. Perhaps now is a good time to develop a new strategic business unit. Here in Spain, we are seeing lots of factories, for example, that have been able to produce ventilators and other items for hospitals that are needed, but that are not part of the company's current product remit. Is it possible to create a new unit? Finally, consider this. As we are all in some way damaged by the current situation and by the upcoming financial situation, think about whether it would be valuable to create strategic alliances with your suppliers, your customers, and even your competitors. I would like to propose 9 drivers to enhance cash flow in the company, which, as I said before, is the Gordian knot on which we need to focus all of our attention. These drivers are the 7 samurai in honor of Akira Kurosawa, and 2 extra samurai that are you and your company. The first driver is cash management. All of your decisions are subject to cash flow. Cash is king. The second driver is management of circulating capital, the stock, accounts receivable, and accounts payable. Identify who your key clients and suppliers are in order to focus on them. Keep an eye on defaults and late payments. Prepare a written plan to sell stock with minimal loss. Regain your contacts and clients. Take an 80-20 focus and try to optimize collection methods, because that's what will give you control to convert them into money in the bank. Manage the payment of outstanding debts in a structured way and in balance with your income generation and available bank financing. If you can pay your taxes, then do, because of course that's the ideal. But if you can't at the moment, then take advantage of the opportunity to postpone them. It is essential at this time to be completely transparent with your customers and suppliers. Manage your financial structure carefully. Even if you have money, access the maximum possible financial support available to you from financial institutions. Forget about financial costs for now. This is not the time to worry about those. It is the time to attract maximum possible liquidity. The fourth driver is investment and divestment management. If the crisis has caught you right in the middle of making investments, freeze everything that's not critical for the continuation of your business. Actually, analyze the possibility of divestments. Don't waste financial, organizational, and time resources where it's not critical currently. It's important at this time that you be capable of identifying what is critical. If necessary, ask for support from your shareholders or even look for support from new investors. Driver number 5 is possibly the most important of all. Manage your people and your organization. People and their talent have always been key to the success of your organization. Now, more than ever, they have become the cornerstone of everything. Management of your people is absolutely critical. Create a powerful core group of managers and middle managers who can bring everyone together. Make your organizational architecture flexible. Remember, we are at war and you must behave like the commander-in-chief of the army. The 6th driver is management of operations and processes. Review the nuclear processes of all your operations and simplify them. Eliminate the superfluous. Concentrate on the basic and the essential. Completely take away the bureaucracy in your organization in order to allow creativity and success to flow and your team to flourish. The 7th driver is about your internal and external communication management. Today, communicating has become an essential strategic action. Communicate with all levels, externally and internally, with maximum transparency. You must be fast and clever to take advantage of the power of good communication. Make it happen with a plan. Don't improvise. Write everything down. Can you see a pattern here? Management of the supply chain is the 8th driver and is absolutely key. The whole world is going to be affected by COVID-19, so there will inevitably be multiple breaks in the global supply chain. A break in your supply chain will halt production, and this will impact cash flow. Fewer sales and more expenses are a dangerous combination. Consider that the recovery of sectors over time will be unbalanced and asymmetric. Analyze the demand recovery risk of cut supply chain matrix to prioritize the management of the supply chain in your company. Another important thing is that almost all of the companies that Altair has worked with have stopped surveying the global and competitive environment. Before I said that you need to survey your global environment every day and very closely. You must extend this surveillance now to the customers, suppliers and competitors of your customers, suppliers and competitors. These drivers will ensure the survival of your company in the short term. Now it is vital to focus on sustained and profitable growth in the medium and long term. If you don't manage the short term well, you won't have a long term to manage. You must also be capable of visualizing your company with a longer term perspective, 9 to 12 months minimum, because the financial crisis is going to last until at least summer 2021. To paraphrase Gary Hamel, any company that cannot imagine the future won't be around to enjoy it. You must come out of this situation reinforced. It's a global crisis and it will in fact affect all companies, but the crisis also implies the emergence of new opportunities. The difference between the many who will be harmed and the few who will benefit is the way you manage it. You must be willing to face the challenge and belong to the select group of companies that will benefit. Remember that in 2008, whilst there were people crying, there were others selling tissues. Finally, I would like to recommend that you read this book by John P. Cotter. I read it many years ago, and now that you're at home and you can buy it online and read it at your leisure, I recommend that you do. Right now, it is very important to implement technical principles and methodologies, but it's more important that you can deliver the management to meet the challenge that we face today. You'll thank me for recommending it because we need a cultural change in the new environment. The 8 principles of Cotter are now considered the 8 accelerators, and they are amongst the 50 most important strategic models ever. The first is to create the feeling that we need change and we need it fast. If we don't change in the short term, we won't have anything to work on in the long term. Build the team that has enough power to lead change within the company. Create a vision and write it down. Develop strategies to make your vision a reality. Communicate the vision of change to the whole company. Facilitate action from employees. Generate short-term successes and give those who achieve them a pat on the back for doing so. Consolidate achievements and generate more change. Create a climate to keep the improvement coming. Very importantly, you must create a new company culture. Read the book as it will help you to assume the leadership you need to face this situation. That is your role of maintaining calm, thinking with your head, leading the team, and knowing that together we will beat it. If you have questions, comments, or a request for proposal, please contact Artemio Miglia directly at the email address now displayed on screen, amilla@soluciones-reales.es. Many thanks and best of luck.